Zedekiah the son of Yoshiahu became king, succeeding Konayahu, the son of Joachim, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babel had made king over the land of Yehuda. But neither he, his servants, nor the people of the land paid attention to the words of Adonai which he spoke through the prophet Yirmiyahu. Zedekiah the king sent Ukahel, the son of Shelemiyahu, and Zephiyahu, the son of Maaseiah the Kohen, to the prophet Yirmiyahu with this message: Please pray to Adonai our God for us. At this time Yirmiyahu was mixing freely with the people, because they had not yet put him in prison. At the time Pharaoh's army marched out of Egypt, and when the Casdim besieging Jerusalem heard about them, they lifted the siege from Jerusalem. Then this word of Adonai came to the prophet Yirmiyahu. Adonai, the God of Israel, says to tell the king of Yehuda, who sent you to me to consult me. Pharaoh's army had marched out to assist you, but they will return to Egypt, to their country. Casdim will return and attack the city, capture it, and burn it to the ground. Here is what Adonai says: Don't deceive yourselves by thinking that the Casdim must withdraw from you, because they will not withdraw. Even if you were to strike the entire army of the Casdim fighting against you, to decree that only their wounded were left, they would still rise up every man from his tent and burn this city to the ground. Then at that time, when the army of the Casdim had lifted up the siege of Jerusalem out of fear of Pharaoh's army, Yirmiyahu left Jerusalem to go to the territory of Benjamin to receive his share of inheritance there. He was passing through the crowds and had reached the gate leading toward Benjamin when a guard commander there named Uriah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, seized Yirmiyahu, the prophet, shouting, "You're deserting the Casdim." Yirmiyahu answered, This is a lie. I'm not deserting the Casdim." But Uriah wouldn't listen to him, so he arrested Yirmiyahu and brought him to the officials. The officials, furious at Yirmiyahu, had him beaten and jailed in the house of Yonatan the secretary, who had been over into prison. The cistern had been made into a dungeon, and Yirmiyahu was put in one of the cells. There he remained for a long time. Then Zedekiah, the kings had sent him and brought, and the king asked him secretly in this palace, "Is there any word from Adonai?" "There is," Yirmiyahu said. "You'll be handed over to the king of Babel." Yirmiyahu asked King Zedekiah, "In what have I sinned against you in order your officials or against this people that has caused you to put me in prison? Where are your prophets now, the ones who prophesied that the king of Babel wouldn't attack you or this land? So now, please listen, my lord king, I beg you, approve my request. Don't make me return to the house of Yonatan, the secretary, or I will die there." At that, Zedekiah the king gave the order, to which they committed Yirmiyahu to the guard's quarters and gave him a daily loaf of bread from the baker's street, until all the bread in the city had been used up. Thus Yirmiyahu remained in the guard's quarters. But Shephatiah, the son of Matan, Gadliahu, the son of Pashhur, Uchal, the son of Shelemiyahu, and Pashkur, the son of Milkiah, heard that these words of Yirmiyahu had said to all the people. Here is what Adonai says: "Whoever remains in this city will die by sword, famine, and plague. And whoever leaves and surrenders to the Casdim will stay alive. His own life will be his own spoils of war, but he will stay alive. Adonai says that this city will certainly be handed over to the army of the king of Babel, and he will capture it." The leader said to the king, "Please let this man be put to death, because by speaking such words to the soldiers left in the city and to all the people, he is demoralizing them. This man is seeking not to benefit this people, but to harm them." Zedekiah the king said, "All right, he is in your hands, for the king can't prevent you from doing as you please." When they took Yirmiyahu and threw him in the cistern of Melchiah the king's son, which he was in the guard's quarters, which he was in the guard's quarters, but he laid down Yirmiyahu with ropes. In the pit there was no water, but there was mud, and Yirmiyahu sank into the mud. Ebed-Melech, the Ethiopian, the officers of the king's house, heard that they had put Yirmiyahu in the cistern. When the king was sitting at the gate leaning toward Benjamin, Ebed-Melech left the palace and said to the king, "My lord, king, what these men have done to Yirmiyahu the prophet is evil. They have thrown him into a cistern. He is likely to die there where he is because of the famine. There is no more food in the city." Then the king ordered Ebed-Melech the Ethiopian, "Take 30 men with you from here and bring Yirmiyahu the prophet out of the cistern before he dies." So Ebed-Melech took the men with him and entered the storeroom under the treasury into the king's palace, from where he took some old clothes and rags. These he let down the ropes to Yirmiyahu in the cistern. Ebed-Melech the Ethiopian then said to Yirmiyahu, "Use these old clothes and rags as padding between your armpits and the ropes." After Yirmiyahu had done this, they pulled Yirmiyahu up with the ropes and took him out of the cistern. Yirmiyahu remained in the guard's quarters. Zedekiah summoned and had Yirmiyahu brought to him through the third entry of the house of Adonai. Then the king said to Yirmiyahu, "I want to ask you something. Did you hide anything from me?" Yirmiyahu said to Zedekiah, "If I said this to you, won't you have me put to death? And if I give you counsel, you won't listen to me." So Zedekiah swore secretly to Yirmiyahu, "As Adonai lives, who gave us our lives, I will not put you to death, nor will I hand you over to these men who want to put you to death." Then Yirmiyahu said to Zedekiah, "Here is what Adonai Sabaoth, the God of Israel, says. If you will go out and surrender to the king of Baval's officers, then you will stay alive. This city will not be burned down, and you and your family will live. But if you will not go out the king of Baval's officers, then this city will be handed over to the Casdim. They will burn to the ground, and you will not escape from them." Zedekiah the king said to Yirmiyahu, "I am afraid of the Judeans who deserted to the Casdim. The Casdim might hand me over to them, and they would mistreat me." Yirmiyahu answered, "They won't hand you over. I beg you, listen to the voice of Adonai concerning what I am telling you about. Then it will go well with you, and you will live. But if you refuse to surrender, and this is the word of Adonai has shown me, all the women remaining in the king Yehuda's place will be brought out of the king Baval's officers, and those women will taunt you. Your own close friends mislead you and took advantage of you. Now that your feet are stuck in the mud, they have abandoned you. Then they will bring all your women and children out of the Casdim, and you will not escape from them. Rather, you will be captured by the king of Baval, and they will cause the city to be burned to the ground." Zedekiah said to Yirmiyahu, "Don't tell anyone what you said, or you will die. If the officials hear that I have talked with you, and they come to you and say, 'Tell us now what you said to the king, don't hide it from us, or we'll put you to death,' also what the king said to you, and then tell them, 'I presented my request to the king that he would not make my return to Yonatan's house to die there.'" All the officials did come to Yirmiyahu and asked him, and he told them everything he had ordered him to say, so they stopped speaking with him, since the matter had not been reported. Yirmiyahu remained in the guard's quarters until the day Jerusalem was captured, and he was there when Jerusalem was captured. In the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Yehuda, in the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Baval, marched against Jerusalem and the entire army and began to lay siege against it. On the 9th day of the 4th month of the 11th year of Zedekiah, they broke through into the city. All the officers of the king of Baval entered and sat in the middle gate. Nergal, Sartzer, Samgar, Nevo, Sarskim, and Rav Sars, Nargil, Sartzer, and Rav Mag, and all the other officers of the king of Baval. When Zedekiah, the king of Yehuda, and all the soldiers saw them, they fled, leaving the city by night through the king's garden, exiting from the gate between the two walls and continuing out by the route through the Arva. But the army of the Casdim went out in pursuit of them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains near Jericho. Upon capturing him, he brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Baval, at Rivlah, in the land of Hamath. where he was passing judgment on him. The king above all slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes in Ravlah, and the king above all also slaughtered all the leading men of Yehudah. Then he put out Zedekiah his eyes, bound him in chains, and carried him off to Babal. The Kasdim burned down the royal palace and the people's houses, and they broke all the walls of Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar, commander of the guard, then deported to Babal the remaining population of the city, the deserters who had defected to him, the rest of the people remaining. But Nebuchadnezzar, the commander of the guard, left behind the territory of Yehudah some of the poor people who had nothing, and all at the same time gave them vineyards and fields. Concerning Yirmiyahu, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babal, gave Nezardan, the commander of the guard, this order: take him, look after him well, and do him no harm, but treat him as he tells you. So Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, and Nebuzaradan, the Rav Saras, Nargil, Sarzar, and Rav Mag, and all the chiefs officers of the king of Babal sent him to Yirmiyahu, taken out the guard's quarters. They committed to him care of Gileahu, the son of Achim, the son of Shaphan, so he brought him home. There he lived among his people. The word of Adonai came to Yirmiyahu while he was imprisoned in the guard's quarters. Go and tell Ebed-Melech the Ethiopian that Adonai Zvaot, the God of Israel, says, I am about to fulfill my words about the city for disaster, not for good. When the day arrives, they will come true before your eyes. But at that time I will rescue you, says Adonai, and I will not hand you over to the men who you fear. Yes, I will keep you safe. You will not fall by the sword, but you will escape with your life, because you have put your trust in me, says Adonai.